In this lesson, I'm going to demonstrate the post and get method in Python and CGI scripting so that we can display and create a web page, create a form on that page, and then use the CGI scripting to call a script file. So a few things that's going to happen here. I'm going to have a couple of editors. First, I'm going to create a .html file. In other words, this file will be the file that's going to display our web page, and just a simple web page that we'll create using HTML language. So you ought to be familiar with the HTML tags and so on, but I'm going to keep things simple so that it's easy to understand and follow. So in essence, we'll create a .html file which is going to be displayed on our web page, and then I'm going to go to another editor, for example, or I can use the same editor to create a CGI script. And the objective is that some user comes to our site, enters certain information, let's say the first name or last name as the input parameters, a CGI script should run. So just a simple concept. So here I have Notepad++ editor. Of course, I can always use my Sublime editor or any editor to create this, but the reason why I'm using two separate editors so it's easier to differentiate and see the code. So first, I'm going to go to my Notepad++ and simply create my HTML web page. So to do this, let me begin. Let's specify or declare the doc type, and this tells the browser the type of file to expect. So the doc type is HTML, and next just begin with my HTML tag, and then my head tag comes next. I can also give a meta tag such as the character set that I wish to use. So specify the character set, and this could be the standard UTF-8, so it's easier for browsers to recognize. And then give a title to this page, and let's say it's going to be post, and then close the title tag and close my head tag as well. Great. Next comes the body of the page. So just open up a body tag, and then within this body I'm going to create a form that's going to run the CGI script that we will also create next, right? But first, just setting up our basic HTML page. So here I'm going to embed a form. So I'm going to open up my tag and type in form action, and this action is going to be, let's say, run the CGI file from the directory called CGI bin, and then of course the name of the file, which we'll create, and we'll call it Perl test.cgi. If you already have this file, great. If not, we can always create this file. And then the method I'm going to use obviously is post, and close my tag. Next, once I've identified and told the code that I'm about to create a form and run a script, and the method is going to be post, well, it's going to post into something, right? So I'm going to create some fields here. So I'm going to say first name, and I'm going to say input. Type is going to be the type of the field, whether it's going to be numeric, text, varchar, or any other data type. So here I'm just going to keep it to text so users can enter the name, and I'm going to say name equals, and here I can say first name, and then close my input tag. And I like to break a line, so I need to do a break, say br, and the next would be my last name. Make the N capital for the first name also, so we keep consistent. So last name is also the same. It's going to be an input field, so this will be input, and then the type equals text, and the name equals last name, last underscore name. Close my tags, and after last name I'm going to close this input tag as well. And of course my next one is the submit, right? So once the user enters the first name and the last name, obviously I need to specify the input. Let me in fact tab this. So my input will be in a tag, in fact, and this type is going to be equal to submit So I'm going to say submit, and of course the value in this instance equals submit, and then close my tag here as well. So once I have this simple form created, of course I can add more to the code and create the entire form with other fields such as address, city, state, zip, and so on. But you get the idea, right? So I'm just going to have two fields, first name and last name, and a submit. So I can close the form tag, and then I also need to close the body and the HTML. So first the body tag, and then the HTML tag. Great. So here's our simple HTML file. So we're going to save it. I'm going to call it hello.html, right? So we need to remember this file name, because when we open our local web server, we can display this file. And let me in fact demonstrate this. Let me go to the web, go to a local host, bring up my correct path for this, Python, and then after Python it's hello.html. And when I hit the enter key, notice a nice form is displayed. Well, just a couple of fields, right? The first name and then the last name, and of course our submit button. And of course you can change the positioning or where you want these fields, the size of the field and the button and so forth. But for our purposes, the concept is important. So once we have the two fields, and here's the location, right? It's called hello.html. Now nothing happens when I click on the submit button, because I need to create the script that's going to run after I click on the submit button, right? Although I can enter information, right? So I can enter like Chris Portman as the first name and last name. So nothing would happen at this point because I don't have a script that runs when I click on the submit button. All I have is just the hello.html page. So next, we will create a CGI script that's going to run when I enter the first name and last name and click the submit button. A script should execute. So let me navigate to the Sublime editor here. This is where we will create the script. I already have the script saved called perltest.cgi as the name of this file. So let me go ahead and create the script file. But first, we need to give the header. Recall from our previous lesson that we need to specify the header or tell where to go and execute the script from. So specify by starting off with the number sign, exclamation mark, and then it's on my local C drive. That's the users folder. So it depends on the path. You may have it directly on your C drive or wherever you've stored. You must enter the correct path. So specify the data files folder. And I'll show you that next, in fact, how to get the path or where this path comes from. And I'm going to tell xampp, and then xampp underscore install 1, and then my Perl directory followed by the bin, and then execute the perl.exe. So here's my path. So where does this path come from, right? The header comes from. Let me in fact show you this. So let me go to my Windows Explorer and navigate to the folder where you have your xampp installed and your Python installed. There's a folder called htdocs, and within this folder there's a tutorials folder, and within the tutorial folder I have my Python folder, and this is the hello.html, and that's the page that we see when we display hello.html on a local server. So once you install the web server, and of course the htdocs folder will be installed, and make sure everything happens within this directory. The CGI file that we are about to create, or we are in the process of creating, will reside in the CGI-bin folder. So notice the path, of course, is fairly long. In my case, you can have a simpler path if you're using a different drive and so on. So I just wanted to demonstrate where this path is going to come from. So let's switch back to our editor. So once we have the path, next my CGI script is going to say print. I'm going going to say content type, and this will be text, HTML, and then the paths. And of course, if you're doing a CGI script, you need to use a semicolon. Next, I'm going to tell it to print. Okay, this is Python again. Let me put a comment here next. Here we can begin the HTML code. Begins here. And just a simple code here I'm going to put. So print, I'm going to say HTML, and of course the head tag and the name. And next line, I'm going to have print the title. Of course, I need my tags. And once you practice with the CGI scripting and the HTML, it'll become easier. So my title is going to be, let's say, hello world. This is great. Of course, a semicolon. Next, I'm going to tell it to print and close the head tag here with a semicolon. A few more lines I'm going to print. I'm going to obviously have the body tag as well because we need to display, let's say, maybe a heading within our body tag. So I'm going to say body, and then right after this, I'm going to tell it to print what I want to say. So maybe I want to use a heading 1 and then the text. So I'm going to say hello world again. This is awesome. And of course close my h1 tag and then use the semicolon. And the last would be, I can of course add others as well, like h2 subheading or h3 heading and so on, or other text if I wish to. But I'm just going to have one more here to close our body tag. So I'm going to close the body tag and then of course close the HTML. Great. So once we have completed our script, a simple script in fact, let me save it. So now this Perl test.cgi, okay, this file is called on to our HTML page. So if I switch back to my Notepad++ editor, notice this Perl test.cgi is going to be used whenever the user inputs the first name and last name and clicks on the submit button. And the method is going to be used as post. Let's test it out and see whether this works or not. So make sure both of my files are saved. So I'm going to resave the hello.html. I'm going to switch back to my Sublime, resave my Perl test.cgi. Next, navigate to my web page. Let's refresh. So here I am at hello.html. I'm going to enter a name. I'm going to say Jack Truman. If I click submit, the CGI script should run. So let me go ahead and in fact do this. Click submit, and perfect. Here it is. So we have the Perl test.cgi. Okay, this is Python again, and it says hello world again. This is awesome. So likewise, you can create your CGI scripts such as Perl test.cgi or any other script that you like. And the Common Gateway Interface scripting is nice because you can integrate multiple platforms and it can be utilized across the board. So I hope this helps practice, and let's move to the next lesson.